So I've got an hour to kill before my tokens fill back in. For those of you who don't know what that is, tokens are like the equivalent of money for artificial intelligence. And even if you have paid subscriptions, after a while they go down when you use them all. So today I wanted to talk about, in this little time niche window I have, about X, the social network, for several reasons. The first of which is I basically live in this place. Since I am interested in technology, artificial intelligence, creative and digital endeavors, I have happened in the last 1 month or so to spend a lot of time on X. And I can guarantee you, if you didn't have this experience on your own, that it can be a quite haunting, daunting experience. It can be quite depressing because people on X is, on average, really negative. But that being said, after use of 3 or 4 days of complete shock, I didn't expect people to be that depressed online, coming from places like Instagram or YouTube, you know, where I didn't actively have a part in it. I didn't actively create content for those platforms, but on average, I saw people were really way more optimistic about life in general, not work specifically. After a shock of 3 or 4 days, I realized that was making me depressed also by, by emulation. My coffee is ready, but also by simple proximity. Because when you are surrounded with negative people, you start to think and see only negative stuff. Now, I am violating several laws of video and hygiene since I am making coffee online, basically having a post lunch. That being said, after 3 or 4 days, I realized I had to be methodic about the way I use that social network at the cost of becoming more stupid. I have a way to track down my performance. There are softwares online, simple software, that can make a cross correlation between your text, like your input data, you can text normally, like writing your diary, to your intelligent quotient. Now, that is not a measure of how smart I am, of course, for several reasons, but it is indeed preoccupating me when, after only 1 week, I noticed my intelligent quotient started to flow down, to dump out. So I had to take some actions in order to fix this. And basically today I will explain you how I filtered up, how cleaned up my usage of X, how you can do this too, and how pretty much counterintuitively it can turn to be a useful tool in your hands if you know how to use it. Italian espresso. So, the first strategy or tactic will be probably the more correct term, is to track down who are the people you are following right now. And when someone pops up in your feed and you don't like that content, say it's a sad engineer complaining about his place in society and the world, for whatever reason, you may find it critical or useless, but you should go there on his profile and track down the person that is following that account that you are following as well, because that is for the most the way the algorithm works. It is supposing, it is taking for assumption that you will like people that others you follow like as well. It's a simple chain. But of course, that averages out the quality of the feed content and people you get really, really fast for several reasons, which are both heuristical and mathematical. But let's not step in the detail. My approach is, after I see someone which is increasing the entropy in my feed, I take that as an actual measure. I will block that user and also unfollow the person that indirectly suggested me that content, which is, yes, probably a brutal way to see it, but we are coming at this with this sort of metaphorical door to the crucial point of this video. That is, X is as good as you use it, depending on what you expect from what expected value you are expecting to extract from the platform. Because if you use it as a casual social network to make friends with, um, to stimulate your critical thinking on, it's going to delude you badly, in a really bad way, because people use it in a several, in a spectrum of ways, which may not coincide with what are your needs. Personally, I use it for work and to find out cool stuff. A lot of people uses it like that and uses other platforms to stay in contact with his personal and private friends. But if you use it in a negative way, dumping out the content of your private life and complaining, which per se is not a negative thing, we all have the right to complain. But if your use of X is to complain about your life and increase the trash amount of my own personal feed, which I am using it for different reasons, pretty soon the quality of my work will decrease, because whenever I open X, my IQ decreases for 1 point, because there is an emotional appeal, there is an emotional attack you do on my cognitive resources while you complain about your life. It's not that you don't have the right, but I will automatically block you because I have all of these people um, popping out, because in this exact moment I fall in the trap of commenting your emotional hook, whatever it may be. I'm not assuming a value judgment here. You may be in the right or in the wrong, but if I do comment out, the algorithm will start to expose me to more content like that, because commenting is interacting with the platform, as well as following somebody or liking a certain post. Everything you do, also the like little apparently insignificant stuff, have a profound influence on the way the algorithm creates its bubble for me. So I can't possibly interact with you even if I wanted to, because that is going to have a sort of chain effect with a negative impact on my feed, on the way I use X. After only 6 or 7 days, I was able to find out this basic logic, and now my X is relatively clean. I only follow people followed by other smart people like John Carmack, Andri Carpati, Pieter Levels, and this kind of, people that probably did a certain kind of work on their exit, don't use it casually, because they use it for work purpose mainly. So nowadays, the situation is way better. I can enter, I can comment people thinking about stuff. Of course, some now and then I make stupid stuff as well, because I'm a human, and also a quite emotional one. I am both smart and irrational, because that is what you get in Italy. You get enthusiastic, extroverted people, but we do fall in the spectrum of aggressive, say, quote unquote, personality, because that's the kind of society I live in the real world. But that is one good reason uh, to, in a virtual environment I created for my own good, try and search people that are different from me. For example, uh, the Anglo-Saxon user, the American user. If you look for the right smart people, you can find people who are opposite than you in terms of personality structure, but that will give you a lot of inputs and insight also on a personal level, not necessarily just mm, on things related to vibe coding and work and AI and so and so. But I do need to do a proper research to also find people who may not necessarily be my friends in real life. That is a wrap up of the last 2 minutes of talk. The fact that I cannot possibly follow you or interact with you on social media, on a specific social media I use for work, doesn't necessarily mean I don't like you. We may be like really close friends. Like I said some times ago, if my own mother was on X, I would probably block her right away because that will constitute for me an amount of emotional entropy for obvious reasons. Now, that being said, it is of course a kind of a cynical approach, probably, but as I told you, I use this tool mainly for work and not in a casual way. That is probably tied to how networking works in the American culture. That is, you guys are really open-minded and you try your best to make a good thing out of everything, which is absolutely fantastic. Most of the things I have learned, both work-wise and a lot of things I learned as a human, comes from the American culture, which is impossible not to get exposed to. But the fact you are so immersed in that kind of mentality is probably preventing you to understand that comes with a sort of price, that comes with it's a double-edged sword, or if you want to make it on the proverbial side, it's the proverbial fish that's wishing that it's swimming in the water without realizing what water even is. The fact you use it in such a double way, where you try to be friendly with other people but also gain the networking benefits, so to speak, is if my analysis is correct, is dumping out the quality of the content you get. That is, of course, a kind of an easy argument to bring up, because private life, personal life is delicate, right? And that is the reason why we don't usually mix it up with work life. It is not in my intention to explain you how to live or how to live a digital environment, but that is something I take for granted as a fact. The idea that we could have positive dialogic exchange, both on a human level and on a work level, is something I take not for granted. That is, I start with the assumption there is a place I use for work. And as a benefit, I sometimes find a smart person that puts on his own critical thinking reflections about X arguments. And that is a benefit, but if I come down with the expectation of using it in too many different ways, a way to make friends, to find the girl I like, to absorb positive energy for or ideas or insights for my work, that on the long run will degrade the quality of each of those things. That is why we specialize in stuff, because if you mesh up, you gain in terms of potentials and opportunities, but on the same level, there is something you are compromising, you are trading off for, and that is the specific quality of that experience. That is why I'm probably going to call this Phenomenology of X as a video, not because I like it to express myself in obscure ways or I wanted to use a philosophical frame, but because that's what it is. Experience in everyday life. It's just what it is. It's phenomena and events, unstructured and coming at you in different ways for different unclassified purposes. And that, of course, is the very reason why most of social network in the long run try to take a way more specific niche. Facebook became a sort of generalized used social network, but in the long run, it started to become it had a sort of regression toward social speaking out, that is toward social stuff. If you remember, if you are my age, it is 30 or so, you probably remember we came out of a exact equal phase. Facebook had become an unlivable place because everybody was posting traumatizing shit all the time from their private life. And that is when in 2015 I canceled my account from Facebook. But it specialized then. Also, then Instagram came out, which was for more artsy people, for a totally casual use. You can't possibly even uh, do it wrong with Instagram because it's images. The amount of text you get, it's really little. So you don't get content at all. You get like the people and their life, which again, I am completely fine with. But if you start to mix it up, it's going to ruin itself down. Also, other social networks follow with the same logic. Reddit was for, and had a logic for tackling arguments or, passions one by one. The structure itself of Reddit was thought as something of a digital urban plaza to tackle one thing at the time. This is the kind of thing you don't get with Twitter, which also didn't update to its X form in a properly designed or smart way. It stayed casual, but it then filled itself with people with technical endeavors or skills because Elon Musk, which is the founder, branded the social network as a way, as an extension of his own persona. It's all of a sudden became a place for people who like Elon Musk related stuff. It is quite hard to find stuff that is not related to tech or techie stuff. Yes, it's a place lived by 100 million people, but right now it is slowly making a gradient descent, so to speak, which means it's descending into a place where it is used by technical people, which are using it for work. There is a gross, probably misunderstanding on my part, but take it for good. Assume that people with strong technical skills at some point all reversed into X. It's not just them, but the way the platform is communicating itself. It is clearly a message for those people. Those are the kind of people that, as a company, X was trying to attract. We are talking about an AI society. X was recently acquired from an AI, XAI. So it is aimed and meant to be used by those people, which of course comes with an even more probably controversial problem to solve, that is, why are tech people so mean to each other? Now, I want you to pause for a second. This video was not meant to spark a discussion. I am myself someone with strong technical background or scientific related passions other than art. So take in consideration that I do like the kind of person I could find on X, but the use they do it is to express frustration mainly because technical stuff is hard. So we are starting on the basis of the fact that we are in a place where people with difficult passion, difficult hobbies find out in themselves. But also, taking this as for granted, technical people come in a variety of forms. We start with the with the entry level, which is facing hard stuff. So it is using the platform mainly to express probably confusion or to seek help. And that can be useful for someone which is on the same level, but can be useless overhead for all the other people, for people uh, that don't bother with the stuff or that find that stuff simply boring, not necessarily negative. Then another kind of technical person you can find is someone which is aggressively trying to network. That kind of person um, uses the platform in a spammy way, so to speak. Those tweets are patternized. You can immediately point your finger at someone who is using that as an exploitation mechanism because their tweets are all the same. They follow the same structure. They make basic questions with no other usefulness than being provocative or to for purposes of vanity, the kind of I have built up empire of 60K with this simple trick. Those are people trying to hook you down, trying to fish you with a net, to use another metaphor, to gain clicks. Clickbaiting is, I guess, I think, for what I've seen, the biggest part of it. And that is the reason why people, one of the main points of pain of X is that people uses it in a serialized way, which is kind of heavy to deal with because it has zero value for people who use it uh, in the other ways, that is trying to potentially connect with other people or using it for work. I am not interested necessarily in the things you are trying to market. Apart from a very, very small percentages of those products, which are the ones I might be interested, but that is on the part of the algorithm to try and push you the right style for you, and that is your interest, the way you use it as a platform. It's not like other people fault or just the algorithmic fault. It is a system. We all have to participate in trying to better up our experience and that of other users. That is the reason why I don't necessarily mm, give the fault to anybody, but I have to come to terms with a way of framing the use I do it, or the whole experience is going to be just bumped for me. So every time I see someone who is marketing a product I don't like, or is expressing himself in a way that is so blatantly, so clearly done for the sake of itself, I am forced to block him or to remove him from my follow account. That is, uh, first of all, we come with the last kind of person which uses the platform, which are high tier engineers, people with very opinionated people, very smart people. Those are the ones that make me angry the most because you are a smart person, you are probably above average intelligence, and you use it in a way that is 100% unequivocably meant to make other people angry. You use it to try to be influential by attacking other people with your opinions. That makes me angry for two reasons. One, because it is ethically unhealthy, of course. But the second one is that you are making wasteful uses of your own mind. You are wasting your energies trying to be influential by fighting with other people, even if so on just an abstract level, even if we are not fighting in person. Believe me, it is probably even worse than that, because that drains you from your best work for a gain which is essentially very, very, very not worth it. Sorry for the refuse. And I will now articulate the reason why. To be influential or to be listened by 200k people, is it useful in which measure? In the measure you can attract other people like you or that you may like, or in the way you can promote your own products and have a monetary return from that. But you probably don't do any of those two things. You simply don't. We know that X doesn't pay that well for top users, and people oftentimes more than not don't have products to sell. Like top engineers that work for companies like Mistral, Hugging Face, or Llama, which come on the platform to attack others, to express hatred or malcontent toward people who are not exactly like them or that don't think specific optimizing way of seeing a certain software like them, like the whole vibe coders versus software community, or the Vim, whatever is pronounced, diatribe, the software engineers that claim that Vim is the only pure way to be a software engineer. That is a waste of your own energy, not necessarily mine, because in the moment I block you, you don't exist anymore for me. You are excluded from my own reality. But, and this is something I am taking acquaintance with more and more, and I am seeing more and more, these people, the one I save because they are smart and they sometimes are able for me, are starting to accuse the hit. I have seen at least 10 guys who were the one with the most negative output on the platform who started to say the situation now is starting to be effectively unlivable. Your own power, your own strength came after you and bited your ass. That is the reason why I was so angry and why I started to block everyone. Because it was clearly going to happen, and after just like 2 weeks or 1 month, those people started to prove me right. I probably came in a moment of extreme negativity on X, which was about to collapse. And that is the reason why in the first 3 or 4 days I was shocked. I was like bummed out, thinking about what possibly was coming in your head to use it this badly. I was shocked. Then I started to use it in a refined way, and the problem was solved for me. I like being on X when I find useful stuff. This is something I am telling you in order to try and relieve a little bit and gain back a little bit of overhead, because I try to be a positive participant. Even if I solve the problem for myself, it is the case. I know I figured out a way to use it in a slightly positive, more positive manner. Also because, again, even if you are the worst asshole, the most person with the most amount of neurosis of or personal complexes, I am not supposed to care that much as long as you provide me with good ideas. Why would I judge you for who you are? I don't possibly care. I don't live near to you. Maybe I could even be your friend. It is the case that once you are a little bit grown up, you start to get friend with people which other people find assholes because they are smarter than average. Not all of them, but some now and then you find someone which is really opinionated, but is, it is clearly in function of his own personality. It's like that is the way he sees the world. Like, perfect personalities who are honest at all costs. Some now and then, some of those folks really are actually making their brain works and are outputting positive stuff that may be controversial, that one may be think about, but is overall positive. So again, in the moment in which you are able to separate your affective life, the way you process your private life and your emotion, from the use you make of X, it's not necessarily I want you to become a cynical monster. I am simply suggesting you to differentiate the way you use this platform and to try and make an analysis of how you use the software, because it may be the case that the way you use it, the fact you are being influenced by negative people, is making you a more negative person, and you are outputting in the platform negative stuff that other people interact with, that is trapping you like, how do you say it in English, sabbia mobile, like sand in killer sands in the desert. That, of course, means I had to try and reverse engineer the use I was making it, and it was shitty. I told you I am human, and also a kind of emotional one for several reasons which are pertain with the culture. But I am also self-aware enough to understand I was making mistakes, because being a person with opinions, I tend to be preachy some now and then, but I was using it in such a way that was against my own interest. So I just stopped trying to enter the discussion with other people about useless stuff, about stuff that is useless to talk about on social network, because it solves no problem, especially in that mid-range of people who are trying to hook you with their patronized use of the media in order to gain uh, followers. And those also are people uh, that, on the long run, I don't think it's going to be so beneficial for them, because you attract a kind of mirror image of yourself. In the moment you attracted all the most frustrated and tedious people on X, or the most needy, the ones that need your stuff the most, it becomes hard to manage, I guess, I imagine. I don't know for direct experience, but loosely speaking, I don't think that hooking people by hate is going to end up well for you. That being said, this turned out to be a half hour discussion, and I could speak for way longer. I wrote some 3 or 4 articles on that, so let's see what is left to figure out. We were talking about the top tier engineers. Above that, there is a fourth secret spectrum part, which is super high top people, like Grimes, like Elon Musk by association. That is, people who use it for probably just their entertainment, or to be influential as well, in a sort of similar way to highly skilled people, but maybe more casually, or maybe with an apparent uninterest. What I repeatedly find out by using the platform is those people are tired of X as well. This morning, I saw that the Grimes post in which she lamented that she was offline for some 4 or 5 days, and after 4 or 5 days, she was shocked of finding out how dark that turned out to be, and how much sad and anger people using the platform is. Which means if it doesn't change that much, if you are like me, a broke designer or a top world renowned singer, this is a core issue with the platform. Okay, which people like Grimes are trying to smooth out by being eloquent about the fact people is very sad, which is honorable if you ask me, because she may had a complete an interest in doing that. Why would her? She's probably rich. She's living the life of her dreams because she's a top singer whatever she does. So it wasn't necessarily her responsibility to do it, but she did it anyway because she had the social status power to be influential. So she tried, and that's noble of her. That being said, the thing that made me think deeply about this is your happiness and your unhappiness are relative to your position, but there is a margin of good and a margin of bad, which is independent of scale, I guess, I think. That is, the more rich you are and the more powerful you are, the harder it is to gain new happiness. Because where do you go smash your head against the wall? For someone like Elon Musk, which has everything someone could want, to gain more happiness or to do a kind of work that has a higher or more potential impact is hard because you can't control reality with money or with social status. That is not an accusation, of course. He is a human like you and I. A bizarre one because he's in the position of doing bizarre stuff like probably we would anyway if we were in his position. That being said, once you are there, you are not more resilient to pain exposure than you and I. Because if Elon Musk gains 100 millions in 1 second, that is on scale really little of a gain for him. And that on the same level, if he loses like $1 billion, it's not that much for him. But is if tomorrow you and I wake up seeing that on our bank account even $10,000 were loaded in, we would probably be so happy we become stupid and we do stupid stuff. There is a little bit subtle, but again, we hooking back to philosophy and psychology. This perception of reality stuff, it is well studied, it is well understood that we are independent from our environment to a certain degree, to just a certain degree. But we are human, we are made of the same stuff. Famous people still have a dopaminergic system that drives their decision. It is, of course, hard for you and I to try to frame this because it feels unreal for us to put ourselves in their shoes. But if you think about it, being super rich doesn't have that much of an impact on your body to some extent, right? You are constrained in the same ways we are. Sure, you can have a more healthy life and you have the best doctors, but at some point that hierarchical pyramid of needs, it's going to hit you anyway. You have needs as well. Trying to wrap up this thing as well, the conclusion I took is if those people who technically have everything are not immune to the exposure of negative power, trust me, neither are you and I. So, it is the case, we try to take control of the way we use the platform um, in a more rational way for that exact reason. Because the gain you can extract from the platform is not something you should take for granted. The kind of reality you expose yourself with is the thing that changes you the most. You have to be the architect and the designer of your own bubble in order to be happy. I don't think there is that much of other choice if you want to be happier on X, or if we want to make it a more livable place to stay in. We have to learn how to use it. And that is something we could discuss on, because learning how to use a social network, both for me and for all the other people is quite hard of a thing to do. I will not fall for the idea that people who uses the platform in a patronized way or is more capable than you and I, because the algorithm changes from one day to the next. I've been the most extreme volatile example of this is TikTok. TikTok algorithms makes you a star and a nobody in the range of 5 days. That changes really fast. And to learn how to use this stuff is akin to impossible if you don't have the right resources, which I don't have and which I think barely the engineers behind these platforms have. And they try to give you hints about how to do it. They do the best they can. Someone who is doing an exceptional job at this is the CEO of Instagram, Mosseri. Every Friday, he has an Ask Me session with the users, and he provides the best tips he can about how to use Instagram. And I don't know why that is not a more diffuse practice. I blocked Elon Musk, so I don't even use. I don't even know the way he uses it. I blocked him because he is too always on a vengeance, right? I don't gain nothing from him, so I just removed it. But I don't think that is the way he uses it. Some engineer on X side saw that takes direct interest in trying to better up the experience of the user, but on their part, they could probably make a little bit of an effort in that direction to explain you how to use it optimally for the use case you do. Because again, I am not trying to impose any kind of specific view. If you want to use it for your casual life and to complain or to make friends or whatever you think you may need as a sort of diary, you should learn how to do it in a way that that enables you to do propositive behaviors, so to speak, to reach people who are like you, who are maybe into self-help right now. When I was more into self-help in those 3 or 4 years of my life, which I needed to step up my level a little bit, I was married to the YouTube self-help community, which has done a tremendous job of empowering me with the right tools. I'm thinking about Andrew Huberman. I'm thinking about Alex Hormozy. Those people really do a good job. We were all in the same niche of the self-help with the same, Discord accounts and so on. And we did quite a good job of working on ourselves. I can guarantee you that Reddit as a platform has had more impact on my life than probably any other media I ever was on. Because being that specific, I could find the stuff that I needed to grow up as a person. I found the right psychology books. I found the philosophy books that were transformative for me. I found Bertrand Russell by discussing with other users. I found out ways to be more practical and more energetic by following the tips of people who had done that same path before me, who spotted where what my problems were. But I was able to do this because I found the right person in the right problem, in the right space at the right time, and that is it. That is mostly it. To sum it up, you have to kind of learn how to make compartments out of the use you out of the goals you have for these platforms. I don't think there is another way. But the hope, the positive takeaway is that in the exact moment you step out of this kind of confused, aimless way to use it, you start to benefit, to gain from the actual use of the internet. It can be extremely transformative. It has been for me. I could make you see, I could show you the data. In the last 4 or 5 years, my intelligent quotient, my creativity, and my emotional capability to uh, be in contact with other people all significantly scale up. I am still in a position where I have a lot to work on. As you, I am a human with my own problems, which I am completely unapologetic about. I have no reasons to hide those from anyone. I am totally broke right now. I have like really few money because I didn't take myself the time to try and learn which are actually the ways to make money on the internet, but also because I was uninterested in that. I probably screwed that one up, because if I also cared about trying to understand how to actually build platforms or build profitable niches in the last 4 or 5 years, right now I would be able to have something useful in my hands, which I don't, because I was being idiotic about that. That is a basic fact of life. You can't have it all. You can't have both the drunk wife and the full glass of wine. Sometimes you screw it up. I did. I tried to step up my game as anybody else, but little by little, after even organically speaking, by osmosis, by being so much time, by having spent so much time on the internet, I am starting to making myself a better understanding of what are the good use cases and the bad use cases of living in a digital environment, in a digital system. There is both. Every system depends strongly, the quality of the output depends strongly from how you use it and also how you understand it, which is again not simple. To try and understand the internet, it's not simple, because finding out that data, both pragmatically but also statistically, like actual data, is not easy. That stuff is not for free. You have to pay for that stuff. You have to pay good money for that stuff. And sometimes, some now and then, yes, strategy analysts and people who specifically do content management don't have all the answers, because it's a complex place to live in. But after a while, after some years of and living in the stuff, I am starting to spot a little bit here and there um, uses or good practices, if you want to call it like this, that is enabling me to quickly turn the Sphinx up on his head. Right? It took me like 5 days to understand everything that was going wrong with the use I made of X. We could make a whole different discourse on how to go viral. That is different. I don't know how to go viral on X. I have no reasons to lie to you about that, because I don't understand the platform that deep. Still, to go viral on TikTok will take me maybe 16 hours of work, because that platform is designed to make you go viral. X is designed to make the profit of X, to make you use it more than you can possibly want to, and to push stuff that keeps you on the platform. While TikTok is designed in a different way, and it is more chaotic and it is more volatile, but to go viral there, it is a joke once you spend 6 months. And all the stuff I have talked to you about, all that we said here today, doesn't have the abiding law. No, probably not there. It is not a requirement. It is not a necessity to be a genius to succeed on social media or in life in general. Most of the people I analyze with tools online are in the range of 110, 120 IQ points, and on the same creative echo level. They are not that creative. They have the quality of understanding by emulation or by experimental and methodic use how the platform works. You don't have to be a genius. The problem is, and this is a kind of bias you learn with time, and I am hopefully I am making you um, I am vaccinated you against this trap, is to think you have to be exceptional at everything at all costs in order to move on. It is absolutely not the case. I spent a lot of time trying to increase some specific parameters like fluid intelligence, which is now essentially useless. I don't know really how to adapt to any of the things that I do right now. So, if you start by understanding what is that you want from the platform or from life in general, and then start to work in that direction, it doesn't take you that much time to reach that goal once the goal is clear. It is not that difficult. Life is not meant as a trap. It is not the way it works. Life is meant to play its own game. Life probably wants you to succeed because in the moment you find a way to remove friction from the system, everybody else um, is um, affected positively by that. And that is the most incredible and probably the most underrated concept about the internet. The internet is essentially the ghost of real life. And the people who designed the internet probably had a sense for this because that comes from a moment of spirituality in California, of also a certain kind of enlightenment where they had really positive models they were following. I guess they kind of knew that when one succeeds, everybody else succeeds. That is the top notch, the gist of egalitarian thinking. That is the thing that the internet was built upon. So I am extremely optimistic about the possible use cases that average people can do of this, but you have to be specific and you have to learn how to think like the internet, to think like the platform you are into in order to actually have a structured path to follow. And that is basically it. It is a bit complicated. I am translating from Italian in my own mind in real time, so I'm sorry if that comes a bit like a cranky flow, because Italian as a language is extremely similar to Latin, so the words I use could sound very complicated in English and are also complicated for me to spell out, to find out in my memory. And that is because I don't have that much opportunity to speak out loud in English that much. But it also turns out the same way when I write down stuff. It is a bit obscure English for you to follow up, and I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to level up or dumbing out my English a little bit in order for to have a more casual conversation. Also because there is not a future, I guess, of Italian. It's kind of a bug. The fact that Italian uses complicated words, it makes thinking harder to have to dissect those concepts in your head before you speak. So I guess I will do probably some more 2 or 3 of those videos specifically for X. I'm sorry again if my English is not optimal or easy to follow. I'll probably just try to write down the stuff before I speak it out loud. Today I was talking about stuff I had figured out by writing a lot, so that is the reason why it probably was so dense with content. I synthesized all the ideas I had, even if I sort of I don't remember it. But even if I climbed a little bit on mirrors, I guess the bullet point is there. Design the way you use and what you expect from the platform. Try to be a better user, but be unforgiving when you understand that the platform, the system is working against you, because you have no chance against the system. So just be very choosy, uh, be very picky in the way you use it, and also you can take my word for it. You may not believe it, but I think there is hope. There is hope for the way you use both X and other social media for whatever endeavor you are into, and depending on the fact you use it as an artist or as a scientist. The moment you are methodic about it, you can gain power from it. You can uh, realize your desires, I guess. I would want to see more signal and less noise, because the main problem is to learn by doing means it takes a lot of time for us to learn this. Even if you are a kind of a genius, even if you are John Carmack, you can be intelligent as you want, but if you don't have the